Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 21 Hats podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. This week, we start with an update of how 21 Hats has been doing since its sale brought new resources and new ambitions. Spoiler alert, it's not going great. Then Dana White tells Shawn Busse and Jay Goltz about the progress she's made on multiple fronts, attempting to sell franchises, to revive her struggling Midtown Detroit location, to open new salons at Fort Bragg and in Dallas, and to secure financing. The owners discuss Dana's financing options, venture capital, private equity, bank loan, assessing, in Shawn's words, their degrees of evil. Plus, Shawn explains how his views on remote work have been evolving, and Jay explains why he's tired of being called a tyrant, even though no one's actually called him that. Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations will let owners know they are not alone in facing challenges. Same thing with our daily newsletter, the 21 Hats Morning Report, which highlights the most important news of the day for business owners and which you can subscribe to at 21hats.com, where you can also find transcripts of our podcast episodes and lots of other articles and interviews. Joining me this week on the podcast are regulars Shawn Busse, CEO of Kinesis, which is based in Portland, Oregon, and works with small businesses on marketing, culture, and strategy. Jay Goltz, whose companies in Chicago include a picture frame business, artist frame service, and a home furnishing store, Jason Home. And Dana White, who is CEO of Paralee Boyd, a Detroit-based chain of hair salons. The episode is titled, 21 Hats Will Remain 21 Hats.
Welcome, Shawn, Jay, and Dana. Great to have you here. We're going to start this week by talking a little bit about me. As you know, in January, I agreed to sell 21 Hats to the owner of a venture-backed software company, Womply, that processed a lot of PPP loans for very small businesses. The idea was that I would get a nice salary and the resources to turn 21 Hats into a real media company. You may also recall I've been having some discussions about whether the business would continue to be called 21 Hats or would assume a name that served to promote the parent company. Well, the good news is that 21 Hats is going to remain 21 Hats. The bad news is that that's because I've basically been fired.
What?
As you might guess, I'm a little disappointed by this. I do feel as though an opportunity has slipped through my fingers. But I actually have to give my now former boss some credit. When we first started having serious discussions, he brought up the possibility that, you just never know. We could reach a point where we would have to agree to disagree. And at that point, early in the discussions, we agreed that if things didn't work out, I would get 21 Hats back, and I would also get a nice cushion to go on. And that's what has happened. It turns out we were not as aligned as we thought we were. And to his credit, my now former boss has stuck to his commitments. And even though, the course of my employment for him lasted barely long enough for me to get a cup of coffee, I get that nice cushion that was promised. So I've been fired before. This is a new land speed record even for me. It is disappointing, but I'm in a better position today than I was when we first started talking, and I'm kind of excited that 21 Hats will remain 21 Hats, and I'm going to keep plugging away.
Okay. Oof.
Any questions?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to argue with the phrase, it's an opportunity slipped through your fingers. No, it wasn't the right opportunity. It wasn't the right fit. Good for your boss and you to figure that out early on. Disappointed? Okay, fair enough. But that certainly wasn't an opportunity to slip through your fingers. It turned out...
Well, it sure seemed like it.
I got it, but it was a miss. After fleshing it out some more, the two of you figured out early on that this wasn't going to work. So that happens.
It was nice feeling financially secure for a month or so there.
I'm sure.
Scared me. I was afraid that meant you got fired. I said you got fired. So I was like, so does that mean no more Lauren hosting the podcast? Because I was like, how I am about that. I don't know the next person.
You realize all this has done is put you back in our game of feeling insecure every day. So that's okay. It's an okay place to be. Welcome to our world. That's our world we live in.
Well, you guys are a little further along than I am.
Yes.
But I hear you.
In hindsight, you didn't do anything wrong. There was no way of knowing. And You gave it a shot. It wasn't a bad decision. It just didn't work.
I do feel like an opportunity has slipped away, but I also agree with what you just said. It was too good an opportunity not to give it a shot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry it didn't work out, but if it was not going to work out, better quickly than taking a long time.
Now.
Or 5 months from now. Right. Okay. Shake it off. We're moving on.
So I have a question, Lauren? So how did it feel transitioning back to being an employee? Because I know entrepreneurs are like, I could never be an employee again. And so I said I wanted to hear how that felt. It
wasn't completely comfortable. Going back was a little bit difficult. I think it would have worked out fine if we had been more aligned. We had significant differences that emerged very quickly once we had signed the documents. That made it harder.
I don't know, Lauren, man. I think you had significant differences long before you signed the documents.
We said the right things to each other. I think maybe we both heard what we wanted to hear. There was reason for optimism, in my opinion. But, the history of it kind of proves you right.
And we were talking about this, before you closed the deal. For me, I was looking at the profile of the owner and I was like, he really strikes me as the antithesis of what you passionately believe in, which is the owner operator who's really kind of built it from nothing, often does not have outside funding, really the small business owner. And really he's the profile of a Silicon Valley, came out of an elite college, got a bunch of money from other people, and continues to get money from other people. So it was like, yeah, he did something innovative with PPP to his credit. But really that the profile did not line up from my outside perspective.
You're right. He does come from a venture-backed Silicon Valley background, and that is very different from what I've been, trying to do and trying to promote through 21 Hats. That said, he devoted a lot of time and resources and effort to supporting very small businesses, not unlike mine. So again, I think there was cause for optimism there.
This falls under the category of nothing ventured, nothing gained. You gave it a shot, didn't work, you're back, here we are. We'll find another opportunity.
Yeah, I'm glad you came to this conclusion quickly. Slow death is really awful when it comes to business partnerships.
Thanks for hearing me out. I appreciate that.
We could keep going. I mean, we could just...
I'm ready to move on.
No, it's all been said, and good for him that he was smart enough, that you were smart enough. Really, I give the guy credit.
I agree. Yeah, and that he did right by you says a lot.
Yeah, no harm, no foul. I don't think anyone had bad intentions.
Next topic. Dana, we haven't talked to you in a while. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We have started selling franchises. We are in the sales process for 7 locations around the country. And so that's going well.
Have you sold any?
Nope, we just started that process. And I'm glad we took our time because there were some cultural things for the business of the salon that I wanted to just hammer down. And I still have some work to do. I've still got some work to do with the operations and the marketing. But as far as contacting people that are interested, we've scheduled and had calls with about 7 people so far. The Fort Bragg location is being white boxed, and I'm moving forward with that, hopefully with the help of PNC. There's a great team of people over there at PNC that are kind of helping me and supporting me, from senior vice presidents to the loan coordinator to everybody. They're all emailing me, really supportive.
What does white boxed mean?
White box means they're getting it ready, putting the drywall up, making sure everything's running so that when I do go in there, we can decorate it, make it our own, put the equipment in there, and do the rest of the build out. They're doing the same thing in Dallas.
And just to be clear, PNC, you're talking about PNC Bank.
Yes, PNC Bank. So this is my first time going to a bank, and we'll see what happens. They say I'm perfectly situated. They said the key is the fact that with your business plan, you're submitting a military contract. That's huge. And so the new news, which is going to be released soon, is that I'll be the first African-American woman to receive a multi-base global contract. So we're looking at Germany, the UK, Italy, South Korea, Japan. The military has been really great on putting me in locations that are going to work for me. Some of their smaller units aren't going to work. Their revenue is just too low. And even though I could come in and increase that revenue, that's just a low starting point. Nextcom has also reached out to me, the Navy, and they're interested in 2 salons in North Island and San Diego. So we're going to see. I'm slow and steady as the pace. I'm not in a rush. Unfortunately, my Midtown location is not doing well. It's just not. And my team and I have evaluated, what is it? What is it? What is it? What is it?
Not doing well from a business or revenue perspective?
From a revenue perspective. And, when you go to Dallas, there are no for hiring signs anywhere. When you're here in Michigan, they're everywhere. And people are having a really hard time. I remember listening to a previous podcast on this show about the hiring. And it's really, really, really challenging. And I've been committed to not just hiring a pulse. I want somebody who's got a strong work ethic and who's committed to delivering the service we want to deliver for our staff. That means we're going to be short staffed for a while because the people who are applying are not always those people. So we're actually taking our time and evaluating these people to make sure they're a right fit. And if they're not, they don't show and we're okay. If they're not, we don't hire them, and that's okay. But because we're short-staffed, we're no longer 7 days a week. That sends a message to our customers about when they come and get their hair done. So our revenue is down, and we're really, trying to come back. Detroit in and of itself is not a typical metropolitan city. It's not a walkable city. Parking. Even though we have ample parking available, this is a suburban metro area. They want to park in a parking lot and go into your building. And they don't want to park on the street and they don't want to park in a structure. So people are like, well, if you validated parking, we'd come. And I said, yeah, but we have to have the volume to validate parking. That volume takes time to get to, which I'm not sure I'm willing to keep putting money into the salon for a market that's not ready. So I'm ready to try my hand at a larger market.
Is that what you were referring to with Dallas?
Yes.
Dana, you had told us about it a little bit the last time you were on. That's not a military or a franchise location. Nope. That's a Paralee Boyd location.
Yep. Separate company and everything.
And that's moving ahead?
Oh, yeah. That's moving ahead splendidly. And we're looking for a mid-June, July open. And so I'm getting ready for all of that now. And that will better equip me to pay what I need to pay to get, I have debt service getting ready to come up from the EIDL. I know it's quite a ways away, but it's still, I need to have a corporate salon generating revenue more than what Midtown can do. And I'm convinced that Midtown was a great place to start a business, but it is not a great place to grow a business. And I'm not the only personal care service brand that feels that way in this area.
Wait, just to be clear, when you went to PNC Bank, they're lending you against a signed government contract, correct?
Yes.
That is the collateral.
I believe so.
Yeah, because my guess is no signed government contract, no loan. I just want to clarify that. They didn't give it to you because you got a nice business plan.
Yeah, no. They still haven't given it to me yet. So they still may not give it to me. But they've strongly encouraged me to submit my application. I included my banker on the pre-performance conference with the military. So he not only was able to hear what their expectations are for Fort Bragg, but what their expectations are for other military bases around the world. And he was extremely excited. I will say that, again, after listening to past episodes of this show and doing some really thought-provoking sessions with myself, I'm going to throw my head in the investor world. I've talked to a friend of mine who just closed a $6 million round. I've talked to a private equity person that has reached out to me, a major private equity person. And these people, the right people around you will help you find the right investor. If you are just throwing your hat in the VC world just to throw it, yeah, you're going to get VCs that want your firstborn child, but the people that I'm working with have known me for a little bit, and they know which VCs would work or which private equity would work and which wouldn't. And so when it comes to scaling these military locations, scaling the franchise and corporate locations, not to mention scaling the product brand, which I'm signing the paperwork for those to be on exchanges across the military, even before I may even have a salon on base. This, taking a loan, paying it off, taking a loan, paying it off. That's the slow roll. I would much rather scale it quickly and sell it. Done.
Hey, Dana, I need a little context in terms of, so was your first salon in Detroit? Like that was the prototype.
Yep. Southfield.
Okay. And then you're selling franchises. Have you built another salon outside of Detroit, or is that the only location?
Nope. So I had 2 locations here in Metro Detroit, and after COVID, I closed the Southfield location, and then I just kept with the Midtown location. So I have the Midtown location currently, but it's not doing well. And now that we've understand, after months of trying to understand why this just hasn't launched, we understand why. So it's like, you know what? It's the market. We just got to go to another market where we know. And I know more now. I know more now than I did in 2016, 2017 when I opened. The numbers, the demographics. So, for example, within 3 miles of the door of my Dallas location, there are 14,195 people that are in my market. That's within 3 miles.
Yeah, yeah.
That's huge. Give me 10% of that.
Wait. How does that compare to the Detroit?
They're not as close. And the Detroit customer doesn't want to drive more than 15 minutes to go get their hair done. And so my Midtown location is located by where they work, but they're no longer working downtown anymore. They're all at home. They're still working from home. So I've talked to several of my customers who have said, when are you opening in Southfield? Because I'm not driving 25 minutes to Detroit. And it's the stigma of driving to Detroit. They feel it's bombed out Beirut, even though Midtown is gorgeous. It's just not like downtown Chicago. It's just not like the Loop. Or, the South Loop. It's not like that here yet. We're about 10 or 15, maybe even 20 years away from Detroit being a city like that.
Okay. I think that's a legitimate analysis that they're not going downtown like they used to. So, I think that all makes sense.
And I think we all need to acknowledge, like, COVID really effed up your business model. And so we need to have a lot of empathy there. But, if I put my banker hat on, and I hate banks. I don't trust them. I think, and I'm sure Jay is with me on this. So you've got a struggling business that has some debt. I don't see how the bank is going to loan you money on that, but it sounds like they will loan you money on the military work.
It sounds like, again, this is all speculation. They might say no. The only good news is that an SVP has reached out for me from their corporate office. Everybody's really excited. They want to be a part of the story.
Okay, I think you've got your head on straight with that, but I'm glad that you're being qualified because you're dealing with the bank salespeople, and I've been through this 20 times. Oh, we all want, and then they send you down to the dungeon where the person who makes the decision is
right. Exactly.
Nope. Next.
Nope.
And then they come back, Dana. I feel bad, but
yeah.
So that, like I said, good for you that you say you haven't gotten it yet. You're not sure you're going to get it. I think that's all true. The fact that you have a government contract, I think, is definitely makes it more likely. But who knows? Banks, to be fair to banks, they make a tiny little percentage. Really, they're not venture capitalists. They can't afford to be given bad loans. They're only making a couple points spread on it. I get it.
So what Jay just said, it sounds like this is why maybe you're going to explore the VC outside investor route because they don't necessarily have the constraints of the bank.
Yeah, it's like I'm tired of the challenges that face me as someone whose dad isn't Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Jay Goltz or you know what I mean? Like,
whoa,
it's I know. You see how I threw you in there? You see how I threw that in there? Wasn't that cool?
I did see that.
Yeah, I just do that. No, but seriously, it's just you get tired of the capital question. Now, I'm not saying that capital question is going to go away.
Can I help you with this? This is the reality. You've recognized that trying to scale up a business that's as hot as yours with such a strong, good concept that has proven to have a market waiting and willing to go, you've recognized that it's not practical to think that you're going to do it the bootstrap way.
Exactly.
Okay, I can't
Thank
argue
you,
with
Jay
that.
Goltz.
I can't argue with that.
It's just not going to happen. And so instead of saying, well, all VCs are bad, months ago on the show, we all got off the line and, hey, Dana, what are you doing today? Lauren asked me. And I told him, hey, I'm speaking of private equity. And I gave him the man's name and Lauren knows who he is. And Lauren's like, wow, that's a big call. And I said, it is. Well, we've kept in touch. And I had a call with him and I said, listen, I need to be set up so in 5 to 10 years, I grow this business so you will buy me out in the end.
Wow.
Who can we talk to now? Because he cuts checks for $300, $500 million. So I'm obviously wouldn't be in his portfolio, but there are people in his company that work with companies my size. And he said, I'm glad to hear it. Give me your deck and we'll go from there. My friend who just closed a $6 million round, he said, I don't introduce many people at all to this company, but I'm going to introduce you. Give me your one pager and we have a call scheduled for next month. So it's all about getting connected through your network with people that know you and know the type of VC that you want or the type of private equity that you want.
And they're not in the time-wasting business. Those guys do not want to waste a lot of time with people.
Exactly.
Whereas banks have nothing else to do. They spend their entire day going out and calling on customers going, oh, we want to build a relationship with you and we want to lend you money. And then they leave you at the altar.
Nothing. Exactly. And so I'm expecting to be left at the altar. And I'm expecting, I go, okay. And I walk out and then there's a limousine with like 5 other people in it saying, hey, we all want to give you this amount of money so you can scale this out.
Can you tell us more about the franchising opportunity now that you're actually in the process of trying to sell them? Can you give us more details on what exactly you're selling?
Yeah. So, we've started talking to about 7 people that we think may be good, early adopters for this franchise. So the sales process takes about, they say 60 to 90 days. And we're in the first couple weeks of that process. It's a lot of background checks. It's personality tests. It's meeting, having them come here for discovery day, giving them a quick, 1, 2, 3 of the salon or to go to Dallas, 1, 2, 3 of Dallas, and then sitting down and say, hey, do you like me? Do I like you? If so, let's enter into this franchise agreement together. And that's it. So we're still early days yet.
How did you find those 7 people?
Once the announcement was made and up until about a week ago, we've had about 98 people email us saying their interest in the franchise. So of that 98, we're talking to 7.
Can you tell us what the sale price is?
I think I can now that I'm registered.
Lauren's looking for something to do, so this might be an opportunity for him.
No. So our franchise fee is $45,000. And then from that, you receive financing. So you can own a Apparently Boyd with a $45,000 franchise fee. And then after that, you would probably need to have financed, or if you have it in your account, anywhere between $400,000 to $600,000. Which that number is very appealing to seasoned franchise people because they're like, you're the quality of Dry Bar with the Wingstop price point. They really like that.
So how does that compare? I really don't know. You go buy a Subway or something. How much does that compare to the typical franchise? Is that pretty much in the mid-range?
It's competitive. Yep.
And then they're obligated to pay you a percentage of revenue going forward?
Yep. Every week they I get a percentage of the gross.
You're getting positive response from the people you responded to?
Excited. We've been waiting.
They're okay with the terms?
Oh, yeah. Because it's standard. It's not like I'm asking for so much more than any other franchise. McDonald's is less, but you spend more money on the financing. I think McDonald's is $35. And I think for the personal care industry...
It costs less to buy a McDonald's than a Apparently Boyd?
Mm-hmm. But look how much money you're spending to open a McDonald's, though.
So they cost less in terms of the initial fee, but more to actually build a location.
Exactly. And so for personal care brands, you're looking anywhere between $45,000 and $55,000 for your franchise fee.
I mean, when you do the math, if they finance the $500,000 at 6% even, it's $30,000 a year. Not bad. I mean, and then you pay the fee to her. I'm just going to guess. What are you guessing they need to gross to come out well? $800,000, $1 million?
No, way less than that. If they can do 5 to 6, they'll be fine.
Okay.
500 to 600,000 in annual sales. That's why the locations are key.
Yeah.
We've got people who are interested here, and we're just going to say, we're really just not interested in opening in the Metro Detroit area. I might go north to Flint. I might go west to the west side of the state of Michigan, but just the Metro Detroit area, we're going to leave that alone and then maybe come back in a couple of years.
Are these people who are interested, have they owned franchises before or owned salons before?
3 of them, I believe, have owned franchises before. I think one of them has owned a salon before, but that's our concern. Again, this business it hasn't changed in decades. And so when we have a hairstylist or a salon owner say, hey, I want to own one, we really are on pause. We're taking we don't know, because are you going to be able to adapt to the way we do it? I had a lady say, I'm interested, but I want to change the name and I want to do this. And I want to say, then you don't want to own a Paralee Boyd.
Why even buy a franchise? I mean, at that point.
Right.
My guess is most people that bought McDonald's were never in the restaurant business.
Exactly.
Well, that's changed over the years, obviously.
It has.
Why do you say that?
Oh, because people know they have the expectation has been set for over 30 years for what it's like to open a McDonald's. But when McDonald's first came on the scene, and that's what my franchise consultant said, you're like McDonald's early days. You're going to get people that are going to want to serve pork chop dinners and meatloaf dinners out of your salon because it's so new. It's not a standard. And the standards franchises that are for hair salons are Great Clips, Supercuts, just don't cater to this market.
You compared the economics of your deal to those of Wingstop and I forget who else. How does it compare to others in the salon business?
It's comparable. I mean, for Dry Bar, we're less. I think their franchise fee is $50, and then you have to have between, I think, $700,000 to $1.2 million to open one. There are several, personal care brands they're a little higher. So my cost to entry is low, but they're not surprised because I've leaned out everything. I'm very lean, not cheap, but lean. I know where to get certain things, source certain things that bring that cost down.
Do you require a certain amount of resources? What does someone have to do this, or is it okay just to finance it?
It's okay just to finance it. We would like to see some liquid, but we haven't determined what that number is because we don't want to make the bar too high without evaluating who our first or who our earlier adopters are. And then that's, of course, you may have to put some down on your loan. But again, you have to pay the franchise fee. So the franchise fee is $45,000 non-refundable. And that's cash. Like, it's not in installments. That's upfront before we move forward with you. So most people who are going to be going forward are going to be able to pay that. And so we'll get that, and then we will use that $45,000 to, help them through their process, get their opening kits together. But there's still a lot of things that they have to pay for. So yeah, it's I won't say it's inexpensive, but you're not going to break the bank. And that's the other thing. I want to set my franchisees up to succeed. I don't want them at zero when they open.
Did you pick those 7 people primarily because of who they are and what their experience is and what you think they can accomplish, or because they're in the right location, or both?
The first one and then the second one. It was like, okay, who are these people? I think 2 or 3 of them have owned other multi-unit franchises. So I think 2 or 3 of them are probably just going to want 5 out the gate. And then where are they?
Wait, they're going to want 5 locations?
Yep. So we have a single unit sale and multi-unit sales available. And so 2, I believe, of these 7 people are interested in multi-unit sales. And that means they've just locked down a territory. And I think there are people that are interested in Georgia, which is hot, Atlanta area. There's the Texas area that's hot. I think in California and Virginia, those are where we're getting interest from. And in Michigan as well.
If someone's just started listening to your story, there's some people out there are probably thinking to themselves, wait a second, you've got one location that's not doing well in your franchising. And then you said something that totally makes sense to me, that you're in a product that isn't going to compete with hamburgers. It's a need in the marketplace. It's a breakthrough service that isn't available. There's tremendous demand for. And as a result, the normal rules of franchising that don't necessarily fit what you're doing. You're not opening another Subway, kind of franchise. So even though you don't have, 5 locations that are doing well, this service is so needed in the marketplace that it shouldn't need to do that. And I buy that.
I've had naysayers respectfully say, Dana, your salon in Detroit should be grossing over $1 million before you consider this. You should have several locations. Again, this is not a $1 million hair salon market. When I spoke with Regis, and Regis is the largest franchise personal care company in the world, they've even said Metro Detroit is not, or those salons aren't grossing over $1 million. So then I ask, okay, understood, the black and white of your argument makes sense. However, give me a salon that's a franchise where women with thick and curly hair, primarily African-American women, what salon chain caters to them?
Let me play the other side of that. Okay, so I actually think that this might be a case of multiple people being right, in that I think what Jay is saying is you have a remarkable insight around a product market fit. And then the other side of the coin, the folks who are critical are saying, well, you haven't proven the model. And this is the entrepreneur's dilemma, right? Which is most entrepreneurs are doubted because it hasn't been done before. So I would take a third tact, which is, there's the vision and the idea, but then there's the execution. And I'm really curious, is this all on your shoulders right now? Do you have, other than these consultants, do you have somebody who is, your lieutenant who's out there getting stuff done,
yep,
communicating with these franchisees,
absolutely,
like this is what you need to do. And this person is like in lockstep with you.
Absolutely. So the young lady that's working with me opened 226 sports clips. She was the director of operations for Lady Jane's Haircuts, and she was a regional manager for Great Clips.
Wait, I thought she quit.
No, she did. But remember, we talked. That was an old episode. This is before you came on, Shawn.
Wait, so she quit and then came back?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't, I don't want to work here. There was some things going on in her personal life that made her freak out for like 2 seconds.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
No, I have to tell you, Shawn, thank you for saying it, because I was thinking that, and I'm glad you... No, that was out there. All right, we're all
that was out there.
Okay.
No. So
good.
she's back.
Okay.
That was last season.
Yep, and now everything is copacetic. So she's handling that splendidly. She's been a part of the sales training with me. So we know how to take one person from one phase to the next together. And then we have our calls going over the who, what, when, and where of it. But that frees me up to go do the other things that I need to do.
Have you thought through, hey, how do you make it a win-win for her if this is successful?
Yep. We talked about it. She's told me what she wants, and I've told her, okay, that's what you want, I'll give it to you. And made sure that what she was asking for wasn't unreasonable, and it's not. And her and my manager have said, listen, we really believe in what you're doing because we're in the industry. We see what you're doing because we've been here for a long time, over 20 years. We're just going to sit tight until this blows up. I'm 45. When I'm 55, I want to sell this company for $1.2 billion. That's it. Like, I'm just saying, I put it out there. I mean, when you look at my products, the military contracts, the franchises.
Dana, would it be okay if it were a little less than 1.2 billion?
If she sold it for 800 million, she'd be a loser. I mean, let's just be realistic.
I mean, 800 million, fine, but I'm going to do my best to be the first personal care brand that sells for as a unicorn.
I don't know. I don't like that.
Unicorning. I got to tell you, for one who's binging shows, the unicorn thing's taken a little hit lately between WeWork and the rest of them.
And Elizabeth Holmes. I get it.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, get rid of the
Don't set that as your, oh my gosh, Dana, your mission of who you want to support and the women that can feel heard in your place, that is so much more valuable than all the bullshit that gets held up as meaningful.
No. You're absolutely right. But when we're talking about the numbers, the unicorns are the $1.something billion companies.
Please stop using that phrase.
Who cares? I want to be
stop using that phrase.
Okay, unicorn, but I care. I care.
Why?
Because
Why?
in order to give those, Shawn, in order to give those women a voice, in order for those women to be seen, I have to be in places. I have to be a lot of places in order for that to happen. I can't do that with 2 locations in Michigan. I can't do that.
For
so
sure.
if I'm going to be,
That's
I need to
legit.
be.
Between having 2 locations in Michigan and being a unicorn, can we just say wildly successful with 3,000 locations?
The word, okay, and so to me, 3,000 locations and all the locations on bases and a product with a valuation of that, to me, that is wildly successful.
Great. Let's go with wildly successful.
I won't say unicorn, even though there aren't any other personal care brands that have sold for that much. But, and again, all things considered, it may not happen. But if I don't put it out there, if I don't reach for it.
No one's arguing with that. I'm just telling you, the unicorn word has been taking a major hit.
No, Shawn, you are spot on, Shawn. You are absolutely spot on.
Make that your North Star. Make your vision the North Star of helping women, of being out there, creating a voice. Don't make it money, because honestly, employees are so cynical of that idea. And quite frankly, it's not inspirational. You know, tack onto the thing you care about. The
reason why I get up is because I want young girls to walk into a space that is reflective of them. And you are beautiful. You are enough, right? That's what gets me up every day. But I'm not a nonprofit.
No, and you don't have to be.
And I don't have to be.
You can make money and have a great purpose.
Which is why wildly successful covers it all.
Can I get into this conversation for a second?
Wildly successful covers both financial and all those other touchy-feely good things that are so important.
What do you want to say, Lauren?
Dana, here's my question. I guess there are a couple things. One that throws me off a little bit is hearing you talk in the same conversation about wanting to sell and wanting to be a unicorn. Those things seem to be in conflict to me. Why are you thinking about selling?
Because there's only so much I can do. And I think once I sell, it could be sold to people that are more capable of taking it. Same reason why the lady who did Carol's daughter, there's only so much she could do. But guess what Estee Lauder did?
Okay, can I play your attorney again? Here's what she's saying. The reason she's planning on selling is she's got to take in private equity, which means she's not running her own show anymore totally, and she'll put up with all that stuff for a while, and then she'll get enough money that it'll have been worthwhile to have done that. Whereas if she just owned it 100% herself, maybe she wouldn't be so hot to sell it.
Let me ask about that taking in private equity thing then. Do you have enough capital right now, Dana, to do the things that are already on your plate? Meaning, do you have enough capital now to open Dallas, to open Fort Bragg, and to proceed with selling the franchises?
Well, to proceed with selling the franchises, yes. To open Dallas, yes. To open Fort Bragg, no. I have to get a loan.
But that's the one that's easiest to get a loan for, presumably. If you have that military contract, you should be able to get a loan to build out one location.
No, you're not listening, Lauren. They're banks. Nothing's easy.
They're banks, yeah. You don't know. And then there's private equity that's already excited. There's private equity that's like, you know what? We're not a shark. We're a dolphin. We know who Dana is. We've been talking to her for months. Let's find the right partner. And it still may not be, but I can't sit and wait for the banks. And I think to further Shawn's point, I think pushing for the growth is in furtherance of my commitment to the vision and the why, right? Because like I said, if you only have one location and you have this great vision, well, that helps the women around that location. It doesn't help the young women who want to join the swim team, but have to fight with their hair every week in California. They're not flying to Michigan to get their hair done. And so when I am thinking about scaling, part of the reason why I'm thinking about scaling is because this is an answer that is needed to be solved for women with thick and curly hair everywhere. Walk in, walk out, pay a good and fair price, and keep it moving. And it's not out there right now.
See, I like that. That kind of thing gets people excited to be part of your cause. And if you can connect the dots between I need capital because I can fulfill my mission in a more powerful way. So that tells me that your number one goal is to find money that is values aligned. And I promise you the banks are probably not going to be it.
And here's the other thing. And guess what? Private equity may not be it either because the problem I'm solving for doesn't hit home for them. So I've got to say, hey, listen, I need you to get out of your lane and see what I see. And it wasn't until I said that they said, oh, I've never thought of what it was like for a Black woman to get her hair done. I didn't know.
Shawn, I love you. You're a little naive. That whole thing that you got to find someone whose values align. No, they want to make money. And I do think they need to make money. And I think she's got a way of doing that.
No, I get it. But hey, like I am fresh off of a conference that just opened my eyes to a whole world of capital and purpose-run businesses that are connected to each other. And I was stunned. I mean,
I totally get that. I totally agree with that. Those two things work together nicely. Together, they work together.
I guess I would say that it's degrees of evil, but they are out there. I have seen it poorly. I have some clients where they thought all the best things in the world. And then afterwards, it was like, wow, that really changed that business profoundly. You got to watch out for that. But I do think it is changing.
Let's stop here on this topic.
I knew that would happen, though. I said, ooh, as soon as I say the PEVC word on the show,
no,
it's going to be, what are you doing?
You know what, you're wrong.
Yes, sir.
That isn't what, no, that wasn't the problem. I'm telling you, the second you said the word unicorn, both Shawn and I said, oh my God. And that was the problem. It wasn't private equity. No one's arguing about private equity.
Nobody, you guys get it.
Thing.
I would argue about private equity.
Yes, Lauren would.
No, but the unicorn thing, I just got done with watching, 8 episodes a week.
Oh my God, we crashed.
Hard to watch.
Oh, painful.
Before we go today, I want to move on to something else, which is something we've talked about in the past, remote work. We've talked about this a lot, but I sense that as this whole thing is dragged on, there may be some evolution in people's thinking about it. Jay, let me start with you. I know most of your people have to be in the office or in the factory. Do you have people who work from home?
I got 130 employees, and maybe there's 2 or 3 that are doing some work from home. And they've been, these particular people have been here for many years, meaning 10 years plus. I would just as soon everyone come back to work. My issue is reading some of these articles from people who don't run businesses. There's no right or wrong to this. For some people, it's going to work out lovely.
Well, tell me about you. Has it been working having these people out of the office?
I would rather have everybody at work. I can walk down the hall and have a conversation. I can have a meeting.
At this point, what is stopping you from requiring that?
Well, most of the people are back. The COVID's not done yet, and it's still floating around. And it's now my people are back to wearing masks in my factory because the numbers are up in Chicago. COVID's not over yet, so I've been holding back to make an edict that everyone needs to come back to work. So, and my point is, this doesn't make you a bad boss or a good boss. Everybody has rights. People have a right to go to work at a company that has the ability to work from home. That's their right. And as a business owner, I have the right to want everybody to be at work every day. And will it lose me some employees? Will it lose me some potential? Maybe. But again, that's my right. And it's everybody's right who works for a living to decide where they want to work. I'm just getting a little frustrated reading articles from people that are talking about anyone who doesn't let their people work from home is some kind of dinosaur or tyrant or whatever.
I'm not sure what you're reading, but
it's in your report, baby. It's right there in 21 Hats. There was a whole article from a guy that put the word tyrant together with letting people work from home.
No, actually, that wasn't in the morning report. I know the article you're referring to. I chose not to highlight that.
Oh, I stand corrected. Maybe I did. Okay, you're right. I sent it to you, actually. All right, take that out. Edit that out. It was on another online thing I just signed up from that I did sign up because of 21 Hits.
So ultimately, it's your fault, Lauren.
Agreed. Shawn, you early on sent your people home, allowed them to work remotely. You gave up the space that you had, the offices. Where do you stand now? What are you thinking?
Wow. I mean, it's kind of fresh in that, I'm looking at Slack this morning and I see another employee got COVID and his family has it. And, I think Jay brings up a good point. It's not over, even though every conference I go to now, nobody's wearing a mask. So I think that's a consideration. I just was reflecting on, all the things I had done in my office to make work efficient and to get rid of the friction. Fast networks, fast servers, lots of monitors, ergonomic desks. And, you see people hunched over their couch working on laptops. I think there's going to be a lot of hidden consequences to it that we're not really seeing right now. I think long term, we're going to get another office. I think we will probably try to do the hybrid model where, there's an expectation of people coming in a couple days a week to collaborate in teams, but not the expectation of 5 days a week. I have seen some folks really actually thrive in the work from home and actually probably get more work done than when they were in the office because we had an open office environment. But then I've also seen other people, like even myself, I'm like, I hate this. It's just not enjoyable over the long term.
Do you have a feel overall in terms of productivity? Do you think the company productivity has gone up or down over this period?
Yeah, I mean, this is a good case for using some scientific process because our productivity, if you just purely measure it, is down. And we do measure it. It's really hard to separate, though. Is it down because people, had to teach their kids from home and they don't have daycare? And if we fix those problems, will it go back up? Or is it down because, fundamentally, it's just not as efficient? But at least the numbers right now tell me that all of us working from home does not match all of us working in the office from a productivity perspective.
There's another issue here, which is the results aren't going to be instantaneous. Like, for instance, you can have 100 people start smoking and everyone's not going to get lung cancer after 3 months. That's not how it works. Well, you can start having at work home. Well, until you start to have employee turnover, and now all of a sudden 30% of your employees have turned and they've never worked in the office, what is the long-term effect going to be when all of a sudden you're not taking your 10-year veteran employee and they're working from home? Now, all of a sudden, half the people that work from you have never been at the office. It's going to make a profound change over time.
I think that's a great point, Jay. I think the flip side of that you do hear occasionally is there are businesses who believe they've benefited by expanding their talent pool. Instead of just hiring locally, they've been able to hire around the country.
Sure, there's cases of that.
And Shawn, I think you've done a little bit of that, right? Or have you hired around the country, or have your existing employees moved around the country?
I went through a period of optimism around that idea, and I've since decided it's terrible.
Why?
I think to Jay's point, I didn't realize that smoking was bad for me. So here's the thing. I have an employee who has been with me 8 years. She's amazing and wonderful. Before the pandemic, she went and worked remote because lots of life reasons. And I was like, we are going to make this work. It's her 8-year anniversary. So she's been 4 years remote, 4 years on premise. I think her success remote is directly tied to the 4 years of being at the office versus employees we hired like right before the pandemic or even in the pandemic. It's been really hard to create connection with those new employees. Like, I don't know them as well. They don't know me as well. And so I think I'm not excited about the idea of hiring folks who have never spent meaningful time within the culture.
Wait, that's only half of it. There's another half. How many times do we hire people and we're with them every day, and after 6 months we realize they're not very good? They're at home. You don't even know what they're doing. I mean, you can't really assess someone's quote-unquote work ethic, talent, anything. They're not with you. That's a problem.
Dana, you obviously can't allow your stylist to work from home, but you've had a couple of key people working from home, haven't you?
I have. And I agree with Shawn. I'm going to go to a hybrid model. I used to work in a job that I hated going to every day. And I just got more done when I wasn't in the office because I like the job. I just didn't like the people in the office. And so, it was just bad. Anyway, and so we're going to go to a hybrid. I'm just not a micromanager. And a lot of my work from home views come from being in bad work environments where they use keeping you at work as a way to micromanage you. And I just never wanted to be that person, that leader.
This is another example of like the tech sector hegemony, right? So like we look up to the tech sector as being like the thing. And they're largely the ones who have made the case for work from home for many years.
Yes.
And now this is their moment, right, to say, see, I told you so.
Yes.
But if you look at the tech sector, I mean, just setting aside its social impacts on our society, like you look at the profile of the worker, you look at the kind of work that's being done, it's very different than a lot of businesses out there. You know, a lot of businesses where, you know, it's the human collaboration, the support, the training, the management, the, you know, the kind of interface and the millions of unspoken communications that happen in a day, body language, gesture,
coaching, meltdowns,
all that
support.
stuff. Yeah. You don't get that. And I think this is another great case of, you know, we're looking to the tech sector in many cases, and the media loves to look to the tech sector. But I would argue that's not necessarily the sector we want to admire for lots of reasons.
Or follow. It kind of goes under the category of mind your own business. Like, if that works for you, great. Just stop telling me what I should be doing because you don't understand what I do for a living.
Okay, let me play a little devil's advocate just for a minute, even though I threw it all under the bus. I do know a few companies that are doing it well. And here's the one secret trick that I have seen, which is they are investing heavily in bringing people together in the real world for meaningful moments. So, you know, if they are all remote, they're bringing them together to a space and they're having a weekend together, or they're kind of going through experiences. I think if companies want to do this, if they really want to be highly remote, they got to reinvest in that. They've got to spend money to bring people together to make that happen. Otherwise, yeah, all the bad stuff.
All right, we are out of time. My thanks to Shawn Busse, to Dana White, and to Jay Goltz. As always, really appreciate it, guys.
Wait, don't leave yet. If you have a question or a comment that you'd like the 21 Hats owners to address, send it to me by replying to your morning report or by email at lauren@21hats.com. That's LOREN @21hats.com. Do it now before you forget. And don't be afraid to tell Jay what you really think. He can take it. And if you got something out of this conversation, help us reach more business owners. Tell a friend. Subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the Morning Report at 21hats.com. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Okay, now you can leave. Thanks for listening, everyone.